Yeah, I definitely think we need people that we can trust, and that's a really important element of our business. If they're working on social media, for example, you are trusting a client's social media and their reputation and their brand to someone that if you don't know who they are and you haven't trained them, it could be really difficult. And a lot of people, they outsource it, and you never know what's going to happen. And I'd rather be on top of it.
Testing. Right, today we've got Julia Johnson from Fine Marketing. So they are a bespoke marketing company focusing on small SMEs in the UK. But their struggles are to do with technology, the ever-changing landscape and the rest of it, and also staff retention and finding good quality staff. But is that really what Julia wants to do long term? So today what we're going to do is we're going to dive into her business plans, where she wants to go, what her struggles are getting there, and really see if we can help and give some tips of wisdom towards her on her journey. Let's get stuck in. So today we've got Julia Johnson here from Fine Marketing, and we're going to be having a little look into her business and kind of what her sort of long-term goals are, and obviously whatever struggles that you're having to get towards those. So Julia, in a kind of, I suppose like an elevator style pitch, tell me a bit about Fine Marketing, like how you've got to where you are now, a little bit about your journey.
Okay then, well, Fine Marketing, we started in 2016. Started as a website design agency with digital marketing. We offer SEO, we do design and branding. I mean, that's something that I've always done from a marketing point of view all my life, if you like. I've always been in marketing. So Fine Marketing started, I had finished in a corporate role and decided that I wanted to get back to working for myself again. Didn't quite want to go into coding websites from scratch. So I did look around to see who I could work with. I think working on your own in a business is quite lonely. So it's always good to have someone to bounce ideas off of. In my previous role, I had worked in that for 10 years. And during that time, I had met someone at a website design agency over in Chichester. Okay. So I kind of looked into what he was doing now. I knew he had been headhunted. And then when I had discovered that the headhunters had changed their minds and not brought their global websites in from across the world for all these young people to redesign, he happened to be free at the time. And I said, what are you doing? And he said, I'm probably going to start my own business. So it was a bit fortuitous that we had a cup of coffee and kind of got together and decided we would start Fine Marketing.
Yeah, good. So, and that is Oliver, is it?
That's
your
Oliver.
Partner?
Yeah, Oliver. So, and Fine Marketing has been going for 8 years now, and we've gone from strength to strength. We became a limited company 2 years later. We've taken on various staff for short periods of time. We've had COVID in between, of course, which hasn't made life easy, but we did in fact find that we worked all through that. We didn't need any government help. There was lots of people doing different things and changing their marketing strategies during the time. So and we're a very busy company. So
that's really good that you've grown from strength to strength, and interesting story about yourself and your business partner, that how that comes about. I always like those sort of stories. I always think it's like the moons of Jupiter align for these things sometimes.
I think it is. And he was, when I first met him, he was an apprentice, so he's a lot younger than I am. Yeah. So he has different ideas, so bring to the table, and that's really important.
Yeah, but that, like you say, that dynamics is quite important. Absolutely. To any business having different opinions. So a question I like to ask all the podcast guests is, what were you like at school? So what was young Julia like before you kind of went out on the world of work, or up to the point you were, say, 18 or something? Hark back all those years.
Well, when I started off, I went to a village school, so that was very different. Yeah. So my parents moved around, so schools changed. When we came down to this neck of the woods, I went to Lewis Grammar School. So
where were you originally from?
The Midlands.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we went from So went from near Redditch and then on to Wales because my dad was with GK and Steelworks. Yeah. Then he got a job with Parker Penn down here. So that was a big company at the time in New Haven. So So I went to Lewis Girls Grammar. I was slightly impatient when it came to finishing school. It was the equivalent O levels at the time, not GCSEs.
Yeah.
And it was amalgamating with the boys' school that year that I'd finished my O levels. So I wanted to do A levels in a year, and at the time you had a chance to do that at technical college. So I went on to Lewis Tech. I did my A levels.
Yeah.
And those kind of things like shorthand and typing, which were quite useful in those days.
Those skills are still transferable to nowadays, but they are different to the skills that you, even like when I went to school, there were different types of skills, like, no one ever loads anything on a floppy disk or anything anymore, or we learn how to like copy and do that and like basic coding. And it's kind of still applicable, but kind of moved on a lot since then.
Typing is still the same, still the same and incredibly useful, especially when you can do something like 60 words a minute. And when you show somebody an old typewriter, they say, "What's that?"
Definitely. Okay. So we'll come on to your kind of sort of immediate sort of goals, if you like, that you've written down here. So you've got your kind of year one goal. With the level of demand, we need additional staff or to reduce the number of time-consuming services we offer. I think that's quite a common thing with a lot of smaller type businesses, where you've got like yourself and then maybe members of staff that come and go. So talk me through that. Where are you at with that? Kind of looking to either get more staff or reduce. Which way?
Maybe that.
Or a combination, perhaps.
It probably is a combination because marketing changes dependent upon the economic situation, and we're just going into a period that is going to change, and we're going to have a new government by the look of it, and I think there will not be any immediate changes. I want to see what's going to happen in the wider world first before we decide to increase staff. Or anything else. And it will affect our clients as well. We've got a lot of clients, and so that situation will affect other businesses. So
I think you're not alone in that kind of opinion about the change of government or any general election, even if it's kind of probably going to stay the same. People always kind of down tools a little bit. They wait for things to go, and then there's a period of kind of uncertainty afterwards. But I'm kind of a strong believer of like you are your own like universe in your own thing, so you can't take too much focus on what the haves and the mights and the things are going to be. If you're going to kind of steer your business in the right direction, you have to kind of make some choices yourself. But I suppose the question is about additional staff or reducing the number of time consuming tasks. Is that like legacy tasks that you've got left over, like things that you've offered to do and you don't really fit with your business model, or
they all fit with the business model. I don't take anything on that doesn't fit with the business model.
What's the reducing number of? Is it?
It is the changes within technology and the software that we tend to use and the reporting programs. And because that changes, we are forever changing and learning new programs. So sometimes that becomes that takes longer than it would necessarily if we just stuck to one program. But you have to keep up with the latest technology and the latest things that come onto the market. It's a bit like AI. So reporting has to be right. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to be successful with your client's marketing. And that is
So I suppose if you then say, the time-consuming services we offer, what does that? If you've got to keep on top of those, is that? I'm just wondering whether or not it's more a case of like you need more staff to then service those more time-consuming things rather than abandon them. Is that like the model doesn't suggest that
the skills aren't out there to do those tasks with new members of staff? That's the problem. We haven't got a very good digital base in this area.
Okay.
So that causes us a little bit of a problem. I think you'll find that throughout a lot of the businesses locally.
Yeah. So the quality of staff locally is difficult, or nationally you're talking really?
No, locally particularly. Yeah. I think we've got a digital skills shortage in this area.
Yeah. Okay. I know you're kind of primarily you work at home, do you, or something? There's not an actual office.
Oh yes, there is definitely. There's an office that yes.
I'm just wondering, like, to attract those better staff, if they work from home, then you'd have a bigger pool of people across the UK to pull from.
No, I prefer them in the office. Really, I suppose that's a little bit difficult, but that's.
Yeah.
No, we've got a member of staff working at home this morning, and that's flexible. That's not a problem. But to start off with, you can't just give someone a task to do. They've got to learn that particular staff. Every business, each one of our clients is different, and it is really important that we give them the best of our knowledge and our skills. And if people aren't taught in that way on what we use, then I think it is tricky.
It is hard to keep like those core values of the firm as they grow and the rest of it, and make sure that they do it in a way that you want it done, essentially. But I wonder if you were to widen your net a little bit, that might sort that problem a little bit. As in, I would agree with you. In where we're based here locally, if those who don't know, we're between Eastbourne and Brighton. Like micro locally, we struggle for qualified members of staff. We've got some that are, I won't say unqualified, but they don't have qualifications, so to speak. And then the ones that do have qualifications, very much kind of Eastbourne and Brighton based, if you like. So we've had to move our kind of core focus into those towns really in order to attract the right type of staff that we need for the business growth.
Well, if I took on a degree apprentice, just to let you know, the nearest university that they could attend one day a week or one day a month is Chichester.
Yeah.
So that's over an hour away.
Yeah.
And that's not practical really for someone that may not be driving. There's not a train direct to Chichester. They have to change a couple of times.
Yeah.
So, it's just a shame it's not served at the University of Sussex, for example, or Brighton. But it isn't. So, and I've looked into that. So that's the kind of person that I'd like to attract.
Yeah.
So.
And you don't think that you would be in a position to manage them remotely at all? Like if they were 100% remote, or maybe they came to see you once every so often?
No, because I think they would need to a degree to understand our client base.
Yeah.
And to understand the client base and the area that we live in, I think is really important.
Okay. And that's because you're primarily focusing on the local economy business, I suppose, isn't it? As in, a lot of the clients that you work with are kind of East Sussex-based businesses? Most of them are East Sussex-based businesses, and maybe the ones that are not East Sussex-based, then I could perhaps do that differently. They are probably not as regular clients as some of my East Sussex ones. I mean, we have got clients. There's one in Stoke, there's one in Edinburgh, there's one in Yorkshire. So that's a little bit different. They've got different businesses. And we'll come on, probably moves us on quite swiftly onto kind of the 3 to 5 year thing, because I guess it will depend on what kind of growth you want really out of that as to whether or not you're going to try and go after those type customers that are a bit more national, or if you're going to always keep it local, and obviously what Oliver's drive is as well for the future. Yes. So on your 3 to 5 year thing, you've got digital marketing is moving fast and it's difficult to predict. It will become more automated with AI and technology, but they haven't reached that stage yet. We are constantly changing and updating and relearning. I think you'll touch on a good point there with the AI stuff, which is why I'm I wonder if those sort of, less regional or local members of staff might do you quite well if you were to aim at those more national businesses, maybe. I know you like the local focus, but I suppose it's kind of your long-term goal as to what you want to go with it, where you want to go with the company. But the AI stuff, I think, in my experience, technology moves so quick, as you probably know yourself. Give it 5 years' time and AI will be forever growing, won't it? You look at how quickly things like an iPhone or something, other manufacturers available, but how quickly the iPhone grew from just being like this thing that only had a camera on the back of it, and then all of a sudden it's FaceTime and all the rest of it in a very short period of time. And now iPhones have become like the smartphone, if you like, has become like almost compulsory, aren't they? Like you can't. I would go as far to say you can't function in normal society if you don't have a smartphone nowadays. No. It's very difficult for a lot of things. So I think AI will become that in the future. You know, things like solicitors and stuff like that, and accountants and things. Those sort of traditional, very much conservative type businesses are probably a bit of danger from AI, if I'm honest. Like when you go to your solicitor and say, I want to litigate against this person because they owe me some money, or I want to get divorced or whatever, and AI could just bang it out for you.
Yes, that would be fairly easy, but it's how much you trust.
Well, yes, but then I suppose we didn't trust the sat nav or predictive text and all those things. Now that we come to
they will all improve.
Yes.
We know they're going to improve. But it isn't necessarily the kind of larger businesses that I'm after. That wasn't the idea of setting up Fine Marketing. The idea of setting up Fine Marketing in the first place was that there was an awful lot of SMEs that are out there that don't have the ability to have a marketing department of their own. They were being ripped off with websites. They didn't know what they were doing. They didn't know what to look for. They had no analytics on them. They couldn't measure anything. And they were being let down. When it came to marketing, they were being let down. So the idea of Fine Marketing is to offer SMEs the marketing flexible to what they wanted. So, I mean, we do anything. We can design a logo. We can put a corporate brochure together. We don't do an awful lot of it, but we can do it. We have those skills. They're traditional skills, if you like. But as you go forward, those new skills, the metrics that they're going to need on the AI content and the SEO. I mean, the SEO probably there's about 50-50 on website design and SEO now. So, and that's quite interesting. You know, when we first started 8 years ago, it wasn't. But you build the right website, the SEO comes in. Websites are changing. So your average life is probably only going to be about 3.5, 4 years before you're going to need to update that platform and change yet again. I mean, even this morning they've said, you know, Amazon is looking at charging for Alexa. So the SEO then is going to need to go on Alexa. So you're going to have to be careful with what you do on that and audio and everything else. So.
Yeah, I appreciate it's an ever-changing landscape.
It is, but that's what makes business exciting.
Exactly. And I think that I suppose it's good to have your niche, if you like, and aim at those SMEs and things like that, rather than going after all those big companies. I just wonder, like, for the growth and kind of getting rid of the time-consuming tasks or the staff or whatever, if there's enough SMEs to target in our immediate area, as well as getting
more
the right
than
staff.
Way too many, if you like.
Are we going to get the right staff in to fill them? That's my concern. So there's loads of SMEs for you to go in
I can be a bit choosy.
You can be some choosy. Okay, all right. I suppose it then becomes about your niche. Like then, if you are working like, you know, Fine Marketing, like that's your brand, really for those like higher end SMEs or something, you know, then you're not getting involved in the time consuming tasks or having to like really hunt for those quality members of staff, because that's a niche in its own right, isn't it? But I guess it's the long-term goal is whether you want to create a business or it's just a job for you, really. Because obviously a business you could sell on is not necessarily reliant upon you being in it, which is a different case. We definitely
have a business.
I mean, as in a job for yourself, like a profitable enterprise you could sell that's not reliant upon you being in it. Essentially, at some point you and Oliver might go, oh, we're going to sell up, or we're going to carry on going, whatever.
I think Oliver will definitely carry on going. So I don't.
But if you have to work in it every single day, it's your business, but it's like a job for you.
But I get a lot of satisfaction from work, and I think that's important. There's not many people that do that.
No.
You do that, I think.
Yeah. I get a lot of satisfaction from work. As you know, I work a lot, but I enjoy it though, and I think
that's the same with me.
Yeah.
So
exactly. Yeah.
And if you get enjoyment from it, then that's part of life. That's that balance.
Yes.
That you need.
Exactly. Yeah. And when you stop getting enjoyment from it and it's no longer fun, then that's when you have to make a decision. But I think that if you're trying to solve the problem of the staff and reduce the thing, I mean, my comment on it would be to maybe just look a little bit further afield for the staff. I had this problem of trying to attract the right people. It is hard, or reduce those time-consuming tasks. But if the landscape's always changing and that's like out of your control, that can be very difficult.
Don't know quite how far you want me to go, because my last one has come from Canada.
Okay.
She's brilliant.
Well, there is that, yes. But I mean, as in your issues, locally.
Yeah.
If you suddenly grew and you needed like 4 members of staff, for instance, then where would you find them? And you're saying that locally it's quite hard to find the right person.
I think there has to be a balance with the amount of work that you take on, and then all of a sudden needing 4 members of staff that you didn't need a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not good management.
Yeah.
As far as I can see.
Yeah, because even if you grew to the point where you needed those 4, like even if it's slowly or you took on a big client or something like that, you're saying that they're quite hard to find locally, though, those quality members of staff, aren't they? So, yeah, that's what I'm saying, that, realistically, if you were to take on, like, I think you told me off camera that you had like a fairly large client that came on recently that's got you to redo all their websites. So if you had a steady flow of those type clients, you would eventually need 1 or 2 people more in the business, wouldn't you?
Yes.
Yeah, that's where you might then struggle to find the quality of staff, because you can't take apprentices on at that point.
No, but what we might do, and we're doing for another one, is to actually train their staff up so as they can manage that themselves.
Right, okay.
So that's another option we have. So if they've got the right staff with the right aptitude, then we can see that as we're working with them.
Yeah.
And then we can bring that into the equation.
So you're like bringing up like grassroots.
Yeah, absolutely. And those staff that are already within a business have a better knowledge of that particular business, because businesses vary widely, as you know. So I'm not just working with one sector.
So question, what do you do when one of them ups and leaves then? When you've grown them onto this thing and then they go off.
Oh no, they
not literally ups and leaves and walks off, but they say, "Oh, Julia, thanks for all of I've been lovely. Julia's nurtured me to this point." And then they go, "Well, I've just been poached by American Express to work for their marketing department."
That would be a mistake.
But they're going to pay me quadruple, and you can't compete with that.
No,
so
you can't. You can't.
It's hard to replace those people in a business.
It is hard to replace those people in the business. So yes, so you'd need somebody else to come on in the meantime.
Yeah.
That can take some of that role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the contingency plan in that instance would be for another apprentice to come in, or would you be looking for someone that's got maybe this right skill set from day one?
I don't think there is anybody with the exact skill set, but they would have to have a skill set that could feed into the business, certain areas of the business. So, yeah.
I just thought we'd come away from the podcast for a second. I just wanted to remind anybody that is looking to apply to come on the podcast, this isn't a formal show where we're kind of really diving down into all the numbers and we're grilling you left, right and centre. It's really just me talking with you, an open and frank conversation like 2 mates down the pub. Yes, I might say I would do something differently and I might pose a little awkward question to you or whatever, but I'm not going to tell you what to do or how you should do it. I'm not going to jump down your throat if I think you're doing something wrong. It's just an open and frank conversation like 2 mates down the pub, having a chinwag, putting the worlds to rights, basically. So if that is up your street, please go to www.matthewcox.biz and apply to be on the show. Yeah, so I think it's inherently difficult when that member of staff that you've nurtured up through the chain leaves, and you need like a steady flow of them. So what we try to do here is try to promote people within now, like you say, but we've always got like the person in waiting or somebody that's trying to come up. So you have like unqualified PMs, and then you'd have like your qualified ones, and then like a head of, so that there's always somewhere for someone to go. And hopefully they would follow that core value. But I think that it's quite hard when you're small. Like we had this problem where when there was only like 6 of us, I mean, you do some work with us anyway, so you were a member. And then we had a couple of members of staff leave because they just got to their burnout point where they'd done like their 5-6 years here or whatever, and they wanted to explore different things. And it's quite hard replacing them when you haven't got that kind of skill set already there in the background, because you're not large enough to warrant it. And then that's when we found the problems where we were offering jobs and then people were going, I'm in Brighton, I don't want to do the travelling anymore, because that's the way the world's changed too.
Exactly.
And then we're being forced to let them work from home and adapt the technology so that we can work efficiently. And before the pandemic, I was like, when someone used to come in for a sales pitch or come in to talk to us and it was over Teams, I was almost like, it's not even a real thing then. It's like you can't be bothered to see me. Whereas now it's like around the other way. It's almost like I could do without you coming in or dragging you in, because there's no cups of coffee made. There's no faffing about at the beginning. There's no, show you around the building or want to go and meet the staff. It's just a Zoom call, get it out of the way, done, move on to the next thing here quickly. And I find like the staff meetings are fairly focused on them as well. And if you trust people, then they're good.
You have to trust people, yes.
You do massively. I mean, there are ways of monitoring their performance and the rest of it, but it's far easier to judge them on their actual output than it is like
100%.
their input.
Yeah.
Especially in like your industry where it's like project-based timelines, isn't it? For us, it's a bit different because you've got reaction and answering the phone and stuff. That's harder to judge someone on their performance. But if you've got like an architect's business or a project-based business, then you can be like, right, if this is done within timescale, then kind of doesn't really matter if they spend, 20 minutes going picking their kids up and didn't tell you about it, really. It's that kind of working from home environment has very much moved on, I think, since the pandemic.
Yeah, I definitely think we need people that we can trust, and that's a really important element of our business. If they're working on social media, for example, you are trusting a client's social media and their reputation and their brand to someone that if you don't know who they are and you haven't trained them, it could be really difficult. And a lot of people, they outsource it, and you never know what's going to happen. And I'd rather be on top of it.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I'm responsible.
I think that's nice. It's harder to grow when you're in that. You have to like let the reins off a little bit, I suppose, to some degree, but without losing your niche that is yours. And that is always a hard goal to do. Like we've had that here where, our core values kind of go out the window when there's like truckloads of stuff coming in, and then you've got to employ loads of new staff, and it's like, oh, but we believe it's this. Well, I was at this old firm and
I know, it is.
It's very hard. But a necessary evil if you're going to manage that incoming client volume, if you like. And I suppose you mentioned about social media. Not so much, maybe yourself and Oliver, do you work on your own social media presence? Because that strikes me like quite a big thing nowadays, especially if you're in that kind of smaller niche market, that people are buying into you, Julia, the person, as well as Oliver and the team, as opposed to like the businesses and overall.
Strangely enough, invested more into my clients' social media than I have my own.
Well, that would be natural, but I wonder
quite a big way. No, we don't do as much as we should do. And one of the reasons that I tell myself we don't do it is because we're actually quite lucky in that we don't need to do it. So I can look at quality rather than quantity. It's something, it's very time consuming, social media, wwhether you're doing it for clients or whether you're doing it for yourself. And you can't be on all the platforms at all of the time capturing everyone. Nearly, I would say 99% of our business comes in via referrals. Yeah. It's because of word of mouth. It's because what we do for other people, and we get recommended, which is absolutely amazing. And the odd 1% sometimes comes in by chance.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, like, maybe, that is sustainable and the rest of it. But, if Oliver wanted to, say, grow the business a little bit or whatever, he's I don't know how old he is. He's younger than me, that's for sure. having met him on the network things.
I'm about 30.
Yeah. Not like he looks younger than I thought. Anyway, I'm sure he'll get a little ego boost there.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I just, a lot of people I see now, like actually the personal posts and social engagement getting a lot more traction than the company ones. So like people looking on your LinkedIn profile, like especially if you're running like a niche business where they're buying you as a person because you and Oliver are going to pitch for the work, they're meeting you, and you're very much like, I mean, we deal like solely with you, don't we? We don't, I know Oliver, but I don't deal with him. And that size business, I think, really relies upon like the person, like Julia, Oliver, whatever it is. And more people will try and look you up on LinkedIn or whatever. And you can have like, the recommendations bits and stuff. I mean, I was talking to the previous podcast guest about this and about like their own brand, and even Ruben, who was the racing car driver, I know he needs to build his own brand as well, because then that will help him. And it's something he can take with him as well if he changes racing team or whatever. But that aside, I think that people really do look on LinkedIn and your various social channels.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So much more than they do. Like a post like on your own one goes so much further than a post from your business, because they kind of get a bit lost in the sea of posts from businesses and the rest of it. So yeah, I just think like that might do you and Oliver quite well if you were to work on that a little bit, because you can really sell yourself as that niche, bespoke, like aiming at SMEs type business that people are going to go, I don't want to go to the big boys or like a generic person if that's the market that you're going for. Those sort of people are definitely going to be stalking you on LinkedIn, so to speak.
There's quite a few stalking.
Yes. Because they want to know about you.
Yeah.
And I think the recommendations thing on LinkedIn is definitely worth you looking at. If you go, like your profile, and at the bottom you've got like ask for a recommendation or receive or make one, make a few to people and then ask for one back. The existing clients, and then people can see that. If you look at mine, there's the ones from clients, staff, contractors, giving a range of like working with me at different firms at different times in my life and the rest of it. And I think that, for me personally, that puts me in a good light, because people will look me up, especially when, for me, it's not necessarily like our clients, it's actually staff. Do I want to come and work for Matt and his vision and whatever his group's doing? Yeah. And they definitely go and stalk me on LinkedIn. Yes. 100%. Like I see them all the time, because it shows you.
You have got a very high profile on LinkedIn.
But I work to that, though. That takes time to get.
That does take time to work on, definitely, yeah.
I think it's time worth spent, though. I know you say it is time consuming. I totally understand that, but it's time worth spent. Because it's like a seal of approval on you as a person. Yeah.
Are you saying I haven't got a seal of approval, Matt?
Not you personally, but from an outsider's point of view.
Yes.
Like if it's completely for the first time, they might be like, oh, I'll look up Julia because I want to work with Julia and Oliver, this bespoke niche, small SME targeted business. And that person is probably likely to go and try and stalk you on the internet somewhere because they're going to be working with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You've done a lot of working with me, so am I expected to see a LinkedIn referral later?
Yes, I can do one. I'll be your first.
I'll put you on the spot.
I'll definitely give you that to send you on your merry way. But yeah, I think that would be quite good for you too as a small win, because I do think people, they trust that. It's a person-based business. If you're not looking to make it into some kind of national sort of, big firm or something, and you're going to focus on that market, you're very much going after that type of person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Right. What else have we got on here then? So we went down to, we got 10-year plan, which we haven't really thought too far in advance and the rest of it. You might
need to ask Oliver that one. You could bring him in on that one.
Never ask a lady their age, but I was going to say, I'm assuming not working forever. Probably you're not Peter Pan, so
I'd like to be Peter Pan.
You're probably a bit like me that you'll probably just want to work for a long time. I mean, we know people that keep threatening to retire all the time that never actually retire.
No, that's absolutely true. But there are a lot of people in big positions that are, a lot older than they used to be.
Yes.
So, and all the time I'm having fun.
Yes, all the time you're having fun. But I suppose the goal is for Oliver to some degree, isn't it? Like
Absolutely.
Eventually, and he has to decide really, in the foreseeable future what direction he wants to take the business in.
Yeah, and I don't think it's up to me to say what he's thinking at the moment. So that's
exactly.
Absolutely fine.
What we need to do is get Oliver on here in about 2 years' time.
I hope you listen to this, Oliver.
And then we'll have a chat and then we'll be able to reference back this conversation.
Absolutely.
And then when he says, oh no, we're international now, I'll be like, well, that went out the window.
Okay. Well, it does. You have to change. You have to be agile.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that jokes aside on that, I think AI will be a real big topic for us to discuss maybe in 2 years' time for like how it's changed from even when we've spoken.
You and I probably won't be talking in 2 years' time, will we?
No, this will be generated by 2 bots. So, Okay. So your 3 biggest challenges in reaching those: staff skills, technology, and a changing world. I think we've kind of covered those. And I always I refer to it like my opinion of the medicine I would prescribe or whatever. I don't know. So the staff skills thing, me personally, I would try and break down that barrier of the remote working. That's just my opinion on it. And see if you can get the right skill set, because you'll end up in a scenario sometime where you've trained someone, nurtured them, and then they fly the cuckoo's nest or whatever, and then
they will do. It's natural.
So, and I think a lot of people say, "Oh, working from home is like an excuse," as in like it's hardly working or whatever. But I think those sort of creative type people, they work quite well from home and the rest of it. So
they do.
I think maybe just for the future, maybe an Oliver thing or something. But as the business grows to attract the right staff, it's well worth trying to adopt that kind of current theme. Technology is really hard. I think AI will come and it will take over. So just be at forefront of that for SMEs, really try and get on all those training courses and the rest of it. And a changing world. I mean, people's expectations are changing. We talked about legacy clients and things like that.
Absolutely.
Make sure you don't get too wrapped up in all those ones you took on in 2016 that have probably not either paying you right or they've got too much expectations. You can manage them into a better way easily. If anybody wants to watch it, I did a whole video on managing people in that scenario, legacy clients. So that's a fairly good thing to do. So I think we've kind of covered most of the stuff that we've got in here, really. But I'm just having a quick little look through here. Was there anything else that you wanted to ask me at all?
I don't think so, really.
Yeah?
No.
We've got here both directors working long hours. It's not always possible to delegate. So I guess a bit of time, getting some time back in your life would be good, which is sort of what we touch on.
One of the reasons I went back to running my own business was to put more time back into my life and a better work-life balance, because you can't always make those decisions when you're working for other people.
Yeah.
So, I can now. So I make sure that I have time for myself and sports and everything else.
Yeah.
So,
And I think people often forget that, like, anybody that thinks I'll go out on my own because it will be less work is an idiot, in my opinion, because it's not. It's probably more work. It's never
going to be.
But I think the benefit is you have a choice. Like, I know you work quite late. Like, sometimes I message you and you message back, like, almost all the time.
You sent me emails at 3:00 in the morning.
Yeah, that's because I never sleep, because I'm just so excited to get up for work.
Is that what it is? I'll just say this in case I forget it.
Yeah, in case it's like the modern day version of the notepad at the side of the bed, you see.
Okay.
It's called Siri. And you just shout across the room, make everyone up in the house. And then it sends it off to you as a garbled message that you've got to decipher in the morning. But
you can please yourself what time you work. This is the nice thing about it.
If you want to take your afternoon off, then you can do that.
Yes, if you want to do something for someone, you can do it. So
exactly, yeah. No, I think, that's a good thing. And the working long hours thing, you just have to monitor it so you're not going to get burnt out a little bit. I know you've got your hobbies and things like that. Try and filter that into your day. Like I say, you could work in the evening, but
that's really important.
Yeah, exactly. So just before we quickly wrap up, where can people find you? So how do they get in touch if they want to look at your bespoke SME style website and SME stuff?
Well, we're hoping to have a new one soon because the old one's looking a bit tired.
You've even been neglecting your own website.
I know, but I put the clients first, so you can't complain about that. So, findmarketing.co.uk, or you can give me a ring. All the details are on the website, or you can find me on Facebook or...
Yeah, and you can do everything from hosting the website all the way through to building new ones, SEO optimization.
Yeah, we've got some lovely smart new websites about to go live, from the e-commerce to one for you, I think, Matt.
Yes, indeed. One for this channel. So if you want to see some of Julia's work, head over to matthewcox.biz.
Yeah, sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, super. Well, if that is all, then I'll thank you for coming on the podcast. It'll be really good to maybe have you and Oliver back in about a year's time or 2 years' time. That would be good. We have a three-way
conversation, shall we?
Not the word to say. A three-way conversation. That's good. And that would be good to see where we're going with things and what direction you've gone on in the ever-changing landscape. So,
okay. All right. Yeah. No, that's great. Thank you very much, Matt.
No problem
It's been a pleasure.
All right. Thank you. So I hope that's really, really useful. And I think that the big takeaway from there is that obviously for me as a person, I'm all like growth, build it up or the rest of it. There's nothing wrong with actually trying to be bespoke and niche and aim at that a smaller market that Julia was referring to there. But obviously she's got a legacy thing. She's got Oliver coming up and he might have different ideas. So actually it'll be really interesting to get on with Oliver in a couple of years' time and see where they're at. See if they've really adopted that AI generation, that big boom that's going to come, and really or not whether they've adopted that remote working. I fear that Julia might not adopt it, but let's hope that she really tries to embrace that as and when she gets to those points where she needs those quality members of staff. Please don't forget to subscribe and like. And if you want to come on the podcast and have an open and frank conversation with me, go to our website, www.matthewcox.biz, and then you can get on the podcast and we can have an open and frank chat about your business and your goal setting. See you in the next video.